pair of jeans. Could be any pair of jeans. I chose to recycle these. These are an old pair. They're an old pair, but they're in really good shape. Now that's the quality of the jean is going to determine how your apron's going to look. If there's a lot of fade, I mean, fading is okay, but if there's like a lot of wear and tear on the pair of jeans, you're not going to get a very good quality apron. So make sure that the jeans that you use are in really good shape. You're also going to need a seam ripper. You need this baby. You need fabric, scissors, and you're also going to need the D-rings, or whatever you decide to pick. I use D-rings for the strap, for the upper strap of my apron. Now there are different sizes. I use a smaller one, which is over here, but you can use the size of your choice. Now, depending on the size that you choose for the D-ring, it's going to determine the size of your strap, the width, whether it's wider, smaller. You can use a denim thread, but I decided to go with a thread that actually matches the stitching that's already there, which is kind of like a gold, just to match everything. We're going to set this aside, and we're going to start by cutting the jeans. So here, I hope I have a good angle. This is the top of the jeans, right here. So what I'm going to do is cut it right here, right at the crotch area. I'm going to cut each pant leg at that. I'm going to use this as a guide, the crotch area as a guide. Don't worry about the curve here. You can always cut it later, or once you remove the stitching, or you can remove it, or you can just cut it. So I'm going to start with one. Going to make sure that the front pocket is kind of out so I don't cut it. Crotch area. You can measure it. I don't tend to measure it. I just kind of estimate where I want it. And I know I use the crotch as a reference. I'm going to cut to make sure I end up a little bit above that crotch, so I can have more material to make the upper part of the apron. I'm going to move it a little bit so I can continue the cutting for the other pant leg. Make sure the pocket. The reason why I'm moving this is because I actually use both sides of the pants, and I make aprons from them. Now you're gonna have to find another pair of jeans. You may have to find another pair of jeans to make two aprons, but if you're only using one part of the jeans for the back or the front, one pair of jeans work. So here you go. Here's the pant leg. I'll cut it right here so we can have two different ones. I'm just cutting this because it's easier, and I'm not going to use those bulky pieces. I have in the past, but when it comes to sewing, when you're putting it together, it doesn't always work out. So that's why I'm cutting it. You don't have to. You can use it if you'd like. I don't use it. Here's one pant leg. And the second one. Turn these inside out. I do go through the effort of removing the seam. It takes more work, but you get the edging, which you can fold back and hem right back. Before we do that, up here in the waistband, I'm going to remove the seam. Very carefully, so I don't rip the material. You're going to do that on both sides. And here you have a path. When you get to here, you can start here or the bottom. Doesn't matter. You decide. Gentle, so I don't rip any of the material. You don't rip any of the material. I've done it in the past, and it's very frustrating when you make those mistakes. Now, I was going to start from in here, but I'm probably going to just start from the outer seam. And again, use your seam ripper and very carefully just remove the seam. So here, I took the seam. Of course, you're gonna have to take all these threads and clean it up. Now, what I do is try to find kind of like the middle of the waistband and cut it. These are tricky. Let's see, that one's really close to the waistband, but this is going to be folded over. So I'm going to kind of estimate, because I'm going to have to fold these. There you go. Or to hem it. And it's okay. It's going to be, when you hem it and you sew, it's going to be shorter. But that's okay, because you're going to have, or you can just fold it, make a larger hem right there. But you're going to be adding straps to this. Same thing with here. This is going to be not as bad. You just fold it. Fold it right there. And then you hem it, and then you're gonna, the straps are gonna go here. Now, you do that on the other side as well. Remove the seam. Again, it takes a little bit of time to do this. be careful. I notice that when I go really fast, I make mistakes instead of just taking my time. Same thing here. Kind of estimate where I'm going to cut. The reason why I cut it in the middle instead of cutting it back here for the extra material, it's because I want to use both sides, the back of the jeans and the front as well. I can make 2 aprons. Of course, I'm going to need more fabric for the second apron, but I still try to use both sides. So that's why I'm cutting it right here instead of, because like I said, once you cut it, you might be kind of short on one side, but I use the straps to kind of make up for the extra. So there you go. This is the front side, the zipper still. Front side. And this is the back side. And this is the one I tend to use first. These pockets are out here, already done for you. And this is the part I use first. So you have 2 seams. What I do is a thicker seam I keep for decoration's sake. This part right here, I don't, even though I was gonna start doing it, but I don't unseam this. And I have to remind myself, I take the other side, which is flatter. This is what I open up. Again, take your time. I make mistakes every single time. I'm going too fast with the seam ripper, so I just take my time. So here's done. It's open up. And you can see how this has become wider once you open it, and this would be the part that you use to make your upper part of the apron. Again, make sure you clean, remove the thread and clean it up. Or if you have a serger, you just go ahead and serge the edge of it. Not too much, because you're going to have to fold it and make a hem. For the pocket, I use whatever scraps I have at the bottom and I create a pocket. Sometimes I take an old pair of jeans, depending on how funky or what type of materials I have, and I take an old pocket and you just cut it out, leave a little bit extra out so I can fold it, so I can basically sew it on there, and I go ahead and I place it there. And I sew it twice just to reinforce the seam. And a lot of times I just try to follow the seam line already there. So you can go that route, or you can make your own. So with that, you are going to decide how much of the upper part. So what I do is I go from the top, the flatter, more squarish, rectangle-ish part, and that's the part I use. Now see, this is what I mean, like the bottom, it's from the inner part of the leg, which is where the crotch, so that's gonna be a lot wider, so it's not gonna be kind of symmetrical. It's just gonna be going into an angle like a wave. So what I do, I cut it right at the edge, right before it starts turning into a wave, just a little bit of a wave. But once you see the start of that wave being created, that's where I kind of say, well, this is where I'm going to cut it, and that's the estimate. So that's what I do. I cut it, and then the bottom piece, well, let me cut it all the way and I'll show you. Just continue to cut it all the way as straight as you can. You can use a ruler, a rotary cutter, you can measure it. I kind of guesstimate. I kind of see where I want it, and then I cut, and I just estimate it. So here's the upper part. See how it's kind of like hem that. It's just a piece where the bottom is going to be attached to. You can bring this as low as you can. Then you still have this upper piece to work with. I gotta clean this up, lots of threads. So this is, let me move this so you can see it. So this is the piece that I just cut, where here's the crotch area, and it kind of like just goes in an angle. So that's the piece that I cut off. Now this piece, I actually use it to create a pocket, and what I did, I made a template for a pocket by using another pocket, and I added the seam allowance to it. So once I cut this out, you're going to have a pocket plus the seam allowance for that pocket, and just sew it up. So you can pin it or add a weight, depending on what I do. What I'm doing, I pin it aside. Let's bring this down because the seam allowance is already there. So if I can save as much fabric of the material as I can, the better it's going to be for me. So then I can use that for something else. That's the fold. So that way it gives me all the rest of the fabric to use for something else, whether it's a strap, another pocket for the other apron, for the second apron that I make out of the pair of jeans. Continue to cut. Cutting, try not to cut my pattern piece. I want to show you what I used. I used my sewing gauge. I set it up to 1/4 of an inch. Pin it. or you can go to your sewing machine, and if you're like me, sometimes I just guesstimate what the seam allowance is supposed to be. But I'm just showing you how a simple tool like a sewing gauge used for knitting or whatever you need a gauge for would help you to be more precise. It's worth taking the time if you're not sure. It's worth measuring. And just do that all the way around. And it's pinned. So you go ahead and sew it. So this is the upper part of the apron. Now on the side, we're going to have to clean this up right here, the edges. I'm going to clean up the edges. I'm going to use a serger, but if you don't have a serger, what you can do is of course remove the thread, clean it up, and then serge it on one side before you hem it. And the same thing here. If you don't have a serger, you can just clean it up, fold it to where you desire, and hem it. So I'm going to use a serger for that. So here's my pocket. It's not quite clean. I'm going to remove the thread, the extra thread that I didn't clean up before. And then I'm going to use my pocket, and you could fold it in half. You can fold this in half if you wanted to. You kind of find the center. It's a little bit much. Or where's the bottom piece? So this is the upper piece. And here's the bottom piece. So I'm going to try to line the middle section with the middle section here as much as I can. It's not always going to line up. Sometimes it's going to be here. Sometimes you can center it and then basically customize, or not customize, adjust the sides accordingly. You can clean this side on the bottom piece, but anyways, first let's just focus on the pocket, and then I'll show you what I did. I do with the bottom piece. So here's the center where I want it. So with that in mind, that guide there, I'm gonna open this up. I'm just gonna kind of center the pocket. Put the center right there. Fold it out. Now I have to hem that a little bit more because that looks sloppy. But then I'm gonna pin it. I'm gonna go ahead and pin it on the upper part. Put one underneath here, so when I'm sewing it, it's not moving around. Okay. It's just gonna stay. You're not gonna sew this top part. You're not gonna sew this top part because that's your opening. Now that I have the guide, I'm gonna remove the bottom piece for now, and then I'm gonna go ahead and sew the pocket. Oh, hold on, it's quite not straight. Make sure it's straight, or the edging straight. Alright, and I'm going to come right back after I sew this up. Okay, so here's the top, here's the pocket. Left side, I'll have to patch that up. So I went ahead and hemmed it also, but before I hemmed it, I serged it. Clean it up, and clean it up on this side as well. Here and here. Oops. Turn it around. Pretty much. Clean it again. Probably clean it after as well when you're done. I'm just super picky. But anyways, get that out of there. This is kind of out of topic, but this is another cool tool that I have. It's a lint remover. You basically have two ways that you can do it. Down, turn it, or the opposite way. Now the cool thing is that it has a base. I don't want to open it, but if you pull it, you basically put lint remover and you clean it up. You get to start all new, and then when you look, you pull this up. Yeah, be careful. All the lint is at the bottom of that little case. What you do, messy. What you do is just take this and throw it in the garbage. And that's it. Put it back on. Remove fuzz. And there you go. So this is the top part. So I'm just going to move this aside. I'll show you what I did with the bottom as well. So here we go. I did the same thing with this. I left the tab like I mentioned earlier. We'll hem this in when we attach the straps. We'll pin them. But anyways, so I hemmed it at the bottom. Or not hemmed it, I'm sorry. I serged it at the bottom. I serged it at the back edges. I'll have to clean this later. And then, that's not very good cleaning. Then I went ahead and I hemmed it. Right here. See? I cleaned it with the serger or overlock, and I went ahead and hemmed it. So now I have this one piece. So now I'm going to show you. See if the camera can get all the angles. It's kind of difficult, the workspace that I have. See if I can show all of it. So here's the upper part. And I'm going to place it over here. And then at the bottom. This is the bottom part. Now I'm going to try to, let's see, aim it there. Right here. Now, this doesn't line up with this. I aim to line it up, but it's not always going to line up, and I'm okay with that. So what we do is we're going to pin this right here. Pin it. So now that is actually attached. Well, it's not attached. It's attached with pins, but that's how you're going to attach the top and the bottom. Now, what I did with the other aprons, and I'll do it later when I have it on my dress form. I actually darted it, but I just need to put it on the dress form so I can go ahead and have an idea of where it's going to be darted. So go ahead and just show it right here. So the top piece. So after I put the pocket together, I placed it on my dress form. I looked at the area of the bust where I wanted to place darts. So I went ahead and I pinned it while it was on the dress form, and I marked it. After I marked it, I sewed it on both sides. But I'll show you what I did. Oops, I didn't clean that one. Okay, so this one is hemmed on the side, hemmed on the side. So here you go. Hemmed, cleaned up hem. Now, what I did is take a piece of cloth or cotton fabric, and I made a ruffle. So I cut a piece of fabric. I made a ruffle for the bottom. Then, as you can see, I went ahead on the other side and I sewed it together. So I placed the fabric, the ruffle fabric, cotton fabric, to the denim. I sewed it by using the overlock so it can give me a cleaner edge. And I went ahead and I sewed all the way to the end. And before that, I cleaned the bottom and I hemmed it. And this is what that looks like. Now, like I said, you don't have to do ruffles at the bottom. I like it with ruffles at the bottom. I think it makes it look cute. Alright, here it is. Basically, remove the seam of the pant leg. Okay, 2 inches. There we go. We have 1 strap, 2 straps. Fold it. Fold it. Basically going to sew it right there. Now, this hem is undone, but that's okay because you're going to fold and close it and you're going to run a stitch right through there. Same thing for this. Just fold it. You can kind of finger press it just to help. And then right there, just a little tiny bit, right there. Just gonna, as I'm sewing, I'm just gonna do it carefully and make sure that Those are inside. Okay. So we have two. We're going to clean it. Clean it. Clean it up. So, yep. We're going to take this and put it in here. We're going to pin it. Pin it there, see? Now I'm also going to pin it down here, so I'm going to sew everything all at once. Make sure it all lines up. Pin it bottom. And put one in the corner just to be sure. Maybe not. Maybe I'll pin it this way. Make sure it's all the same to the bottom. Do the same. Open it up. Put it in there. So we're gonna sew it. There. Should sew the same thing. Using your rotary cutter, just cut it at 3 inches wide. First, Let's just get this ball going. Fold it, just like we did the other one, and then fold it in half. With a smaller piece of material, cut 3 inches wide. This part will be for the D-rings. After you cut it, you fold it. It should fold and have a total of 1 inch, and then pin it. So I was going to hem this, but I'm not. I'm actually going to serge it and get a clean cut. I was going to fold it and then sew it, but I think I'm just going to serge it, have clean serge. So now I'm going to go ahead and sew this up. And sew this up as well. Okay, so here you have 2 D-rings. I'm going to slide them in. Then you fold it to where you want it. You can make it a little bit long, make it a little bit shorter. I wouldn't make it too short. And then you sew it right across. But before you sew it, I'll pin it here. And then you just sew it before you attach it to the apron. We're gonna put it right here. On the other side. And then you pin it. Oops, hold on. Gotta make sure it's facing the correct way. And you pin it. Then you sew it right across, or you can make the box. Then pin it right there. So we're gonna sew it there from here to here. You can do 1 stitch. You can do a little box. Just make sure that your stitching is reinforced. And again, you can do 1 or just box it. Here's the apron. And sewed it right here. Reinforced it. The D-rings. Just however you need. Back straps, ruffles. And this is all made from 1 pair of jeans.